Hi, Greg Dell with Dell Disability Lawyers here with Rachel Alters, and we're going to talk about one of Rachel's resolved cases against Lincoln, and this was a very strong victory for an FPL employee. And in these videos, Rachel, I'd like you to get into the background of the case, what you were able to do to get benefits reversed, and then we'll provide some tips for people so hopefully they can take a few things away from this to help them with their Lincoln disability claim.
Sure.
So tell us first the background of what happened in this case.
This is our client who was an FPL worker, and what his job was to repair lines up on the poles. So he had a very physically demanding job, and he would have to get up on the poles. It was very risky because he worked at very high heights, and he had an accident at work one day where he fell. Injured his shoulder, his neck, his back. He was pretty bad. So he went out on disability. He was put on light duty for a while, and Lincoln was paying him for about a year. Then they decided out of the blue that they didn't think that he was providing enough medical documentation to support his disability, and they said, you know what, our own peer-reviewed doctors, we feel that you can get back up on these poles again and you could work like you were before. Well, obviously his doctors didn't agree.
Mm-hmm. And they did that without ever examining him? They
No.
just did it with a paper review?
Correct.
What about the fact you said he was injured at work? Was there workers' compensation doctors involved as well?
Yes.
And how did that interplay with what you had to do on this claim?
We worked along with the workers' compensation doctors. So they, were very helpful because we had the same goal. The same goal was that he was, supposed to be on a light duty, and they were trying to get him to maximum medical improvement. And they supported the fact that he couldn't do this physical job. So we were able to work with those doctors along with his own treating doctors to get support for his long-term disability claim, to get him back on claim.
When you say that was he on light duty at the time? Were the doctors saying you can do light duty, you just can't do the duties of your job?
They were, but he wasn't working because FPL didn't have a light duty job for him. But they said, hey, all he can do is light duty. We don't want him in heights. We don't want him lifting overhead. He had, really injured one of his shoulders, and he couldn't lift his arm. Can you imagine how dangerous it would be to be up on one of those poles,
right,
75 feet up in the sky if you couldn't, lift your arms up in the air and use your hands the way you needed to.
And what was the definition of disability in his policy?
Well, for the first 24 months, it was whether he was able to perform the material substantial duties of his own occupation. It will switch to whether he could do any gainful occupation, which I believe he's still going to be on claim at that point because of his education, training, and background. He says he's not capable of doing a desk job.
And is that why FP&L, because when they said he could do light duty, you would
Right.
assume, well, that means that you could do a sedentary/desk job,
Sure.
but they don't have a job for him because he doesn't have the qualifications to do any of the desk jobs they're offering?
Correct.
And that's going to be a further battle that's going to come up for you, because even though you won under the own occupation definition disability, you're still going to have to represent him to overcome the change of definition to any gainful occupation.
Right.
All right. So we got a little bit ahead of ourselves, but let's go back to what was your strategy to win this appeal? What did you do?
It was pretty obvious that he couldn't work, and if you just read the medical records, any layperson would say, well, how could this guy get up on a pole and repair lines when his doctor won't let him reach overhead? He can't lift greater than 20 pounds. He's got, chronic severe neck and back pain. He's got a lot of physical issues going on. So Lincoln pretty much from the get-go ignored the records that were already there. So they weren't paying attention to what his doctors were saying. So we worked with the doctors to be a little bit more clear. So we had them write letters and fill out attending physician statements with specific questions that were geared towards his specific job duties. So do you think he could, climb up a pole? Do you think he could reach overhead? Do you think he could lift this amount of weight? And it was absolutely no, never, 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 never. We didn't feel the need to send him for a functional capacity evaluation because his doctor's opinions and records and his objective testing was also strong, because he had MRIs that showed he had neck issues and back issues and the shoulder issues. So it was just it was more pointing out to Lincoln, hey, this is already in the file. You can't ignore all of this. His doctors are very supportive. They're adamant, and it would be very dangerous for him to get up on these poles and actually attempt to do this work. So we were able to get it overturned without having to do so much outside testing and just working with his treating doctors.
You said a minute ago any
Yeah.
layperson would look at this and say he couldn't do it, but
Right.
but I'm confused by that because
Yeah.
they had hired a doctor who looked at it. Was the doctor unaware of what this person's occupation was? How did the doctor reach his or her conclusion that he could go back and do this job he was doing? Or did the doctor not comment about his job?
The doctor did comment about his job. The doctor felt that the treating doctors that were treating him their opinions were not valid, and that he believed after a year's time that he was capable now of performing all these job duties. Now, obviously, he never saw him. He never examined him. He never even spoke to him. The peer review doctor never even called his doctors to discuss it. It was just a mere paper review. This is what we think. We disagree with these doctors, which, didn't make much sense to us. So when we got the call, I was like, well, this, we can't possibly have this man working at this physically intense job and he loved this job. I mean, when he first called me, he told me, I've been working for 4 decades at this job and I've been making 6 figures. I love my job and now I can't do this job, and now Lincoln's telling me I can and they won't pay me. And he said, I really wish I could go back to work.
So how does Lincoln, and anyone watching this video is saying, I don't get it. He had multiple treating doctors. They never examined him. They just hired some doctor to review the records.
Right.
Why did the person at Lincoln not say to him or herself, something's not right here? I sent the records out. One doctor is looking at it saying, go climb poles, which is about as physical as a job gets, or go up in those 50-foot, bucket trucks. Yeah, and be up around dangerous power lines, hands above the head, everybody knows. Yeah. And this doctor's saying, yeah, you could totally do that, but your 3 other doctors are saying no, and you, the claimant, are saying no. Why does the Lincoln claim rep just stop at that point and just say, well, the paper review's fine?
Well, that would make the most sense, and I wish they would do that and use common sense in a lot of these cases. But unfortunately, when it comes to Lincoln, they don't want to pay, and they're hoping that in a situation such as with this claimant, that they'll say, listen, we think you could go back to work, and that he just won't fight the claim and they won't have to pay him, and it'll be easy as that. And it happens like that a lot, where the claimants are like, wow, like this big insurance company just decided out of the blue that I'm not, disabled anymore, even though I am, and I can't fight them. So they're hoping that he doesn't fight. And luckily he called us and he did fight it, and we did get him back on claim. But it happens more often than not that these claims are valid. They're completely valid, and it seems like I said earlier, common sense that this person wouldn't be able to work. Yet, if they just deny them, a lot of times these companies get away with it.
Right. It's almost like, and luckily Lincoln did the right thing on appeal, and you were able to put together a great appeal and get it won. But it seems like the people at the lower levels are just gathering papers, like looking in the computer to say, if the report I send out for says that he has no restrictions or limitations, then I agree with that. Like they're trained, then you just agree with that. It doesn't matter if 20 other doctors who were treating the claimant told you that this person is disabled. You don't pay attention to those. You only go to what our hired gun doctor says. And that's unfair. Luckily, you were able to overcome the decision in this one. If someone's out there who has a Lincoln policy, no matter where you live in the country, feel free to call Rachel, myself, any of our disability lawyers. Will immediately review your denial letter and let you know right away how we can help you. We look forward to discussing your claim with you. Hi, I'm Gregory Dell, the managing attorney of Dell Disability Lawyers, and I hope you find the video you just watched helpful. We put these videos out all of the time, and we'd love if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel. Beyond our videos on our YouTube channel, we also have lots of information available on our website at diattorney.com, and we encourage you to come to our website. The goal is that we want you to be educated about the disability insurance process, and when you get to our website, you'll see that we have information all about your specific disability insurance company, your occupation, and your medical condition. And we've designed our website such that you can easily search our website to find things that you may specifically be looking for. Now, at our website, we have thousands and thousands of pages of information, hundreds of videos that you can search, plus we're building a section of reviews of all the disability insurance companies, and we have the Ask Our Lawyer section where you can go ahead and ask us any questions that you may have. Now, we realize that you may not need us right now, but you may need us in the future to help you with your disability claim, and we think one of the best ways to keep in touch is by clicking the button below and subscribing to our channel. And most importantly, again, no matter where you live in the country, We're always available. Just go ahead and give us a call. We're happy to discuss your claim and let you know immediately if we can help you.